Welcome to the Influential Biographies YouTube channel. In this video you will learn the most fundamental facts and details about Margaret Thatcher and the impact she had on politics and society.
Where there is discord, may we bring harmony. Where there is error, may we bring truth. Where there is doubt, may we bring faith. And where there is despair, may we bring hope.
Margaret Thatcher was born Margaret Hilda Roberts on October 13, 1925, in Grantham, a small town in Lincolnshire, England.
She was the second daughter of Alfred Roberts, a local grocer, and Beatrice Ethel Roberts, née Stevenson. Her parents were both Methodists and instilled in her strong values of hard work, self-reliance, and thrift. Thatcher grew up in a modest household above her father's shop on North Parade. She attended Hunting Tower Road Primary School and then Kesteven and Grantham Girls' School, where she excelled academically and participated in various extracurricular activities, including debate club, drama, and piano lessons. She was also an avid reader and showed an early interest in politics and current events, often listening to her father's speeches at the local Conservative Association. In 1943, Thatcher won a scholarship to study chemistry at Somerville College, Oxford, one of the few women's colleges at the time. She was one of only a handful of women studying science, and she faced some discrimination and isolation from her male peers. However, she thrived academically and graduated with a degree in chemistry in 1947. After graduation, Thatcher worked briefly as a research chemist for BX Plastics, a subsidiary of the British Cylonite Company. However, she soon decided to pursue a career in law and enrolled in the Inns of Court School of Law in London. She passed her bar exams in 1953 and became a qualified barrister, specializing in tax law and patent law. Thatcher's early political views were shaped by her upbringing and education. She was a devout Methodist and believed in individual responsibility, free enterprise, and limited government. She was also influenced by the writings of Friedrich Hayek, Milton Friedman, and other conservative economists, who advocated for free markets and a smaller welfare state. In her later years, Thatcher would famously declare, "There is no such thing as society, there are only individual men and women and families." Thatcher's early political activism was focused on local issues in Grantham. In 1945, she joined the Conservative Association and campaigned for the party's candidate in the general election. She also became involved in the Young Conservatives and was elected president of the Oxford University Conservative Association in 1946. In 1947, she gave her first major political speech, defending the Conservative Party's policy of supporting private education. In the early 1950s, Thatcher began to pursue a career in politics more seriously. In 1950, she ran as the Conservative candidate for the safe Labour seat of Dartford in Kent, but she lost by a wide margin. Undeterred, she continued to work for the party and was elected to the Finchley Conservatives Executive Committee in 1952. She also became a governor of the North Thames Gas Board, a position that gave her some experience in public administration. Thatcher's early political career was marked by a combination of talent, ambition, and perseverance. She was a gifted speaker and debater, with a sharp intellect and a strong work ethic. She also had a natural charisma and a steely determination that would later earn her the nickname Iron Lady. However, she faced many obstacles as a woman in a male-dominated field, and she had to fight hard to be taken seriously and advance her career. Thatcher's early life and education were formative experiences that shaped her worldview and prepared her for her later achievements. She learned the values of hard work, self-reliance, and thrift from her parents and applied them to her academic and professional pursuits. She also developed a deep interest in politics and conservative ideas that would guide her throughout her life. Her education at Oxford exposed her to new perspectives and challenged her to excel in a field that was not traditionally open to women. Her early political activism in Grantham and Oxford gave her valuable experience in campaigning, public speaking, and organizational leadership. Thatcher's education and professional background in chemistry and law were also important factors in her political career. Her training in science gave her a rigorous analytical and logical approach to problem solving, while her legal expertise allowed her to navigate complex policy issues and defend her positions in Parliament. Thatcher's combination of scientific and legal knowledge made her a unique and formidable politician who could understand and tackle issues from multiple angles. Thatcher's early life and education also gave her a unique perspective on gender and class issues. As a woman from a working-class background, she had to overcome numerous obstacles and prejudices to succeed in a male-dominated field. She was often criticized for her voice, her fashion sense, and her assertiveness, and she had to work harder than her male colleagues to be taken seriously. However, Thatcher never saw herself as a victim or as part of a disadvantaged group. Instead, she believed in the power of individual effort and meritocracy, and she championed the idea that anyone, regardless of their background or gender, could achieve greatness if they worked hard enough. Thatcher's early life and education also influenced her political philosophy and policy agenda. She believed in a small government, low taxes, and free markets, and she saw the state as a necessary evil that should only intervene in the economy and society when absolutely necessary. She also believed in personal responsibility and self-reliance, and she saw welfare programs as a disincentive to work and a drain on the economy. Thatcher's commitment to these ideas would later shape her policies as Prime Minister, including her privatization of state-owned industries, her reforms of the welfare system, and her pursuit of fiscal austerity. In conclusion, Margaret Thatcher's early life and education were crucial in shaping her worldview, her values, and her political career. Her upbringing in a Methodist household and her education at Oxford instilled in her a strong work ethic, a commitment to individual responsibility, and a deep interest in politics and conservative ideas. Her professional training in chemistry and law gave her a unique perspective on policy issues and a rigorous analytical approach to problem solving. Her early political activism in Grantham and Oxford gave her valuable experience in campaigning and leadership, while also exposing her to the challenges and opportunities of being a woman in a male-dominated field. Overall, Thatcher's early life and education were important factors in making her the iconic and controversial figure that she would later become. Margaret Thatcher's early political career began in the 1950s, when she joined the Conservative Party and became an active member of the Oxford University Conservative Association. Her political activism in Oxford gave her valuable experience in campaigning, public speaking, and organizational leadership, and it also exposed her to a range of conservative ideas and thinkers. Thatcher's first attempt at elected office came in 1950, when she ran for the Dartford constituency in Kent. Although she lost the election, she gained valuable experience in campaigning and public speaking, and she became a well-known figure in conservative circles. Thatcher continued to be active in the Conservative Party throughout the 1950s and 1960s, holding a number of positions in the party hierarchy and working hard to build support for conservative policies and candidates. Thatcher's first major political breakthrough came in 1959, when she was elected as the Member of Parliament, MP, for Finchley, a suburban constituency in North London. Thatcher was one of only 25 women MPs in the House of Commons at the time, and she quickly gained a reputation as a hard-working and intelligent politician with a deep commitment to conservative principles. As an MP, Thatcher focused on issues such as education, housing, and social welfare, and she quickly established herself as a rising star within the Conservative Party. In 1961, she was appointed as a junior minister in the Ministry of Pensions and National Insurance, where she gained experience in policy-making and government administration. In 1964, she was promoted to the position of Parliamentary Under-Secretary of State for the Ministry of Housing and Local Government, where she worked to reform the country's housing policies and promote home ownership. Thatcher's political career hit a bump in the road in 1966, when the Conservative Party lost the general election to the Labour Party. Thatcher lost her position as a minister and spent the next few years in opposition, working hard to build support for Conservative policies and candidates. However, Thatcher's fortunes changed in 1970, when the Conservative Party won a decisive victory in the general election and formed a government under the leadership of Edward Heath. Thatcher was appointed as Secretary of State for Education and Science, a position that gave her a platform to promote her vision of education reform and to tackle the problems facing the country's schools and universities. As Secretary of State, Thatcher implemented a range of controversial policies, including the abolition of free school milk, which earned her the nickname Margaret Thatcher, Milk Snatcher, the introduction of school vouchers, and the reduction of funding for universities. These policies were often criticized by teachers, students, and labor politicians, who accused Thatcher of undermining public education and privileging the interests of the wealthy. Thatcher's tenure as Secretary of State for Education and Science also saw her emerge as a key figure within the Conservative Party and a potential contender for the party leadership. She was known for her tough-minded approach to policymaking, her strong leadership skills, and her ability to connect with ordinary people. However, her gender and her background as a middle-class woman from the suburbs made her a controversial figure within the party hierarchy, and many senior conservatives were wary of promoting her too quickly. In 1974, Edward Heath called a snap general election, hoping to win a fresh mandate from the voters. However, the election ended in a hung parliament, with no party able to command a majority in the House of Commons. After weeks of negotiations, Heath was forced to resign, and a leadership contest was called within the Conservative Party. Thatcher decided to run for the leadership, believing that she could offer a fresh and dynamic vision for the party and the country. She faced off against several other candidates, including Heath's former Chancellor of the Exchequer, William Whitelaw, and the veteran Conservative politician, Geoffrey Howe. Thatcher campaigned on a platform of free market economics, strong national defense, and a commitment to individual liberty and personal responsibility. Thatcher's campaign was initially seen as a long shot, and many senior conservatives were skeptical of her leadership abilities. However, she quickly gained support from the party's grassroots activists, who were drawn to her strong convictions and clear communication skills. In the end, Thatcher won a decisive victory in the leadership contest, becoming the first woman to lead a major political party in Britain. Thatcher's early years as Conservative Party leader were marked by a series of internal struggles and external challenges. She faced opposition from many of her own party members, who were unhappy with her economic policies and skeptical of her ability to win a general election. She also faced a resurgent Labour Party, which had moved to the left under the leadership of Harold Wilson and was gaining support from trade unions, student activists, and progressive intellectuals. Despite these challenges, Thatcher remained focused on building a strong, united Conservative Party that could offer a clear alternative to the policies of the Labour government. She traveled extensively throughout the country, meeting with local party activists and voters, and she worked hard to articulate her vision of a property-owning democracy that would promote individual liberty, personal responsibility, and economic growth. Thatcher's efforts paid off in 1979, when the Conservative Party won a resounding victory in the general election, defeating the Labour Party and forming a government with Thatcher as Prime Minister. Thatcher's victory was seen as a historic moment in British politics, marking the first time that a woman had been elected to the highest office in the land. As Prime Minister, Thatcher set about implementing her ambitious program of economic and social reform, which became known as Thatcherism. Margaret Thatcher's time as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, from 1979 to 1990, was a period of profound change and transformation for Britain. She presided over a series of far-reaching economic, social, and political reforms, which had a profound impact on British society and helped to shape the direction of the country for decades to come. Thatcher's early years as Prime Minister were dominated by her efforts to revitalize the British economy and restore the country's international standing. She came to power at a time when Britain was mired in economic stagnation, with high unemployment, inflation, and a bloated public sector. Thatcher believed that the only way to restore Britain's economic health was to embrace free market economics, reduce the size of the state, and encourage private enterprise and competition. Thatcher's economic policies were centered around a commitment to deregulation, privatization, and lower taxes. She believed that the government's role should be limited to providing essential public services, while the private sector should be allowed to flourish and drive economic growth. To this end, she embarked on a program of privatization, which involved selling off state-owned assets such as utilities, telecommunications, and transportation companies to private investors. Thatcher's economic policies were highly controversial, and she faced significant opposition from trade unions, left-wing politicians, and members of the public who were skeptical of the benefits of free market economics. However, Thatcher remained committed to her vision of a more dynamic and entrepreneurial Britain, and she persevered in the face of opposition and criticism. In addition to her economic reforms, Thatcher also pursued a range of social and political reforms during her time as Prime Minister. She was a strong advocate of individual liberty and a firm believer in the importance of personal responsibility and self-reliance. To this end, she pursued a range of policies designed to reduce the power of the state and empower individuals and communities. One of Thatcher's most controversial social policies was her decision to introduce a poll tax, which replaced the previous system of local property taxes with a flat-rate tax on every adult. The poll tax was highly unpopular with the public, and led to a series of protests and riots throughout the country. Despite the controversy surrounding the poll tax, Thatcher remained committed to the policy, arguing that it was a fairer and more efficient way of funding local government. Thatcher's political reforms were equally ambitious, and she was committed to transforming the relationship between the state and the citizen. She believed that the British political system was dominated by vested interests and outdated traditions, and that it needed to be reformed in order to better reflect the needs and aspirations of ordinary people. To this end, Thatcher pursued a range of political reforms, including the introduction of a more democratic system of local government, the abolition of the Greater London Council, and the reform of the House of Lords. She also introduced a range of measures designed to strengthen the power of the executive and reduce the influence of interest groups and lobbying organizations. Thatcher's time as Prime Minister was not without controversy, and she faced significant opposition from both within her own party and from the broader public. However, her commitment to free market economics, individual liberty, and a strong national defense resonated with many voters, and she was able to win 3 consecutive general elections. Thatcher's legacy as Prime Minister is complex and multifaceted. On the one hand, she is widely regarded as a transformative figure who helped to reshape British politics and society in profound ways. Her economic reforms helped to revive the British economy and make it more competitive on the global stage, while her commitment to individual liberty and personal responsibility helped to empower ordinary people and communities. However, Thatcher's legacy is also highly controversial, and she remains a polarizing figure in British politics. Her economic policies led to significant social inequality and sparked a wave of deindustrialization that left many working-class communities struggling to adapt to the changing economic landscape. Her confrontational style of politics and her uncompromising approach to policymaking also contributed to the polarization and divisiveness that characterize British politics to this day. Thatcher's time as Prime Minister was marked by a number of significant events and milestones. Perhaps the most notable of these was the Falklands War of 1982, in which Britain successfully defended its sovereignty over the Falkland Islands against an Argentine invasion. Thatcher's leadership during the war helped to bolster her standing with the British public, and she emerged from the conflict as a national hero. Thatcher's relationship with Europe was also a key feature of her time as Prime Minister. Although she was initially a supporter of the European Union, she became increasingly skeptical of its ambitions and the impact it was having on British sovereignty. She clashed with European leaders over a range of issues, including the budget, monetary policy, and the direction of European integration. Her skepticism towards Europe helped to pave the way for the Brexit vote in 2016, which saw Britain vote to leave the EU. Thatcher's time as Prime Minister was also marked by a series of high-profile clashes with the trade unions, which were seen as a powerful force in British politics at the time. She pursued a range of policies designed to weaken the power of the unions, including introducing restrictions on their ability to strike and imposing limits on their funding. These policies were highly controversial and led to a series of bitter disputes with the unions, which culminated in the miners' strike of 1984–85. Despite the controversies and challenges that marked her time as Prime Minister, Thatcher remained a highly respected and influential figure in British politics for many years after leaving office. Her commitment to free market economics and individual liberty helped to shape the direction of British politics for decades to come, and her legacy continues to be felt in many aspects of British life today. However, her leadership style was also highly divisive, and many critics argue that she was unwilling to compromise or listen to alternative viewpoints. In her later life, Thatcher remained an influential figure in British politics, even after leaving office in 1990. She continued to be a vocal advocate for free market economics and individual liberty, and she remained a highly respected figure within her own party. She also became increasingly involved in international affairs, and she was a prominent advocate for democracy and human rights around the world. However, Thatcher's later years were also marked by controversy and criticism. She was accused by some of presiding over a period of social and economic inequality, and her policies were blamed for exacerbating divisions within British society. Her health also deteriorated in later life, and she was diagnosed with dementia in the years before her death in 2013. In conclusion, Margaret Thatcher's legacy as one of the most influential political figures of the 20th century is still being debated and analyzed to this day. Her impact on British politics, economics, and society was profound, and her legacy continues to be felt in many aspects of British life. However, her time in office was also marked by controversy and criticism, and her policies continue to be the subject of intense debate and analysis. Despite the challenges she faced, Thatcher remained a highly respected and influential figure in British politics for many years after leaving office, and her impact on British life and politics is likely to be felt for many years to come. Thank you for watching this influential biographies video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to leave us a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out any new biography.